Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Islam Media. You're now tuned into Friday night sports talk with myself, Dakir Dawood. Um, Tonight I'll be chatting to Jack Manack. He's going to be giving us his insight on how cricket was played when he was still a record holder. And he still is a record holder, according to many cricket experts in South Africa. He played in the Howard Bowl. And for those of you that don't know what the Howard Bowl is, it was a competition that was played in South Africa. It ran from 1972 until 1973, 1972-73 season until 1990-91 season. Pardon my mistake. Yeah, this was originally known as the Dadabai Trophy. It was contested between Eastern Province, Natal, Transvaal, and Western Province. Running alongside the South African apartheid years, the Howard Bowl was a non-limited for non-white players who were not permitted to compete in the Currie Cup. And one of the legends of that tournament, he is a leading wicket taker in that tournament. Rumor has it that he was probably the fastest player and the youngest player to 100 wickets in South African cricket. And that is according to Aslam Kota, who said so over social media during the week. Jack Manack, where do I start? Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening this Friday night to chat to me.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's so good to connect and always good to connect with you, Brother Zakir.
Shukran so much for your time. Uncle Jack, let's get straight into it. I mean, we've only got a limited amount of time, and the listeners, the viewers, there's so much juicy questions we want to get into. First things first, your love affair with Lord's Cricket Ground. Let's jump straight into that. Where did it begin?
You know, as a young boy, I had a dream. Like many people have dreams for different things. My dream was one day to play for South Africa. And as I grew up, that was my dream. And I went to my teacher, Mr. Bismillah, who's now late. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus, inna lillahi wa inna rajiun. And I went to him one day and I said, sir. He said, yes, my boy, what do you have today? Because I was very enthusiastic at the time. And he says, what do you want? He said, sir, I want to play for South Africa. He looked at me and says, boy, do you know it's apartheid? Do you know you come in an apartheid country and then we are in a stage where there's difficulty and we don't play sport together at this moment in time. And that's why we played in the Hawa Bowl and things like that. I said, sir, but I want to play for South Africa. I said, at this moment, it is difficult. So I went home disappointed and I was watching television. And as I was watching television, I saw Lord's Cricket Ground. I saw England playing the West Indies at that time. And when I saw that, I then suddenly had this urge, this dream, I want to play there. That looks like the ground which I want to play at. So I went back to the school the next day and I said, sir, you said I can't play for South Africa and it's impossible. Sir, I want to go to Lord's Cricket Ground. He looked at me and he says, my boy, the only thing you have in common with Lord's Cricket Ground is you come from a country like Lens, which is the only thing is the alphabet L and Lord's. That's the only thing he told me. And I smiled. He says, okay, my boy, you want to go to Lord's Cricket Ground? Make the South African non-white black cricket team, the Secos team, the school side. And if you make the school side at the end of matric, we will send you to England. To me, that was all I needed. I had a dream. I had a vision. I forgot about school. I forgot about everything. To me, it was that I am going to England and I need to make the school side. So I started practicing, training, and doing what I had to do. And so happened that I recall a cricket game, which was a turning point for me. I was playing cricket, and we were playing Lens High School. And as we played Lens High School, it was the last ball of the over, and it was the last ball, and they needed 4 runs to win, and we needed to get a wicket. So everyone was cheering, and I was bowling the ball. I bowled an incredible Yorker, but somehow fate had it. It was an inside edge, and it went for 4. And we lost. At that moment, I was disappointed. And for the next few days at school, I was quiet. And the same teacher, Mr. Bismillah, came to me and says, boy, what happened to your dream? What happened to where you want to sit? Sir, I don't want to play cricket. I let the school down. I'm really sorry. And he says, 3 things can happen today. It can either make you, it can break you, or it can take you to the next level. I said, sir, it broke me and cricket, that's it. He says, my boy, if you can look up, you can rise up. If you can stand up, look up and you can see anything. And at that moment, I looked up and he said, you see, the horizon is open. Look up, and in all your life, never look down on life. Always believe you can achieve anything. I said, yes, sir. He says, remember the dream you told me? Keep going, my boy. You can make that school side. So I practiced. And then it was the end of the year in matric. And the school principal called all the kids out in school. And then they called me up, the last boy. And they called me up, says, well done, you're in the South African school side. And I was captain of the school side. And then they gave me an envelope. And I thought the envelope was a letter to say congratulations to the school. No, it wasn't. It was a ticket. It was a ticket to London. The school, while I was playing that year, raised money, and all the schools in Nirvana raised money. And I went to England, and I went to London, to Yorkshire Cricket Ground, and I played at Yorkshire Cricket Ground. And how does Lord's coming? The last day of the trip, I decided I have to go to Lord's Cricket Ground. This was my dream. I wanted to play here because I played county cricket in the Yorkshire leagues. We played in the leagues there. And I came to Lord's Cricket Ground, and I saw Lord's Cricket Ground. And I walked around an empty Lord's Cricket Ground, and I said, one day I will come back and I will play cricket here. And I said, Ya Allah, make this possible. Because I have this dream. Ya Allah, you have brought me to London. I've come right to the home of cricket, but I haven't played here. And that wasn't the end of the story. Can I go on and tell you a little more what happened then?
Well, before we go on to that, just one question. You spoke about dreams. Being a youngster, I mean, dreaming about shooting for the stars and, you know what, playing at the highest level. The fact that you weren't able to play for a joint South African national team, did that ever dampen your dreams?
No, to me at that moment, as a young boy, I was blessed. We played Sekos cricket, house and hour cricket. At school cricket, I was selected for the Transvaal team. And we played against the best of Vincent Barnes, Saeed Majid, Faiq Davids, Bani Mohammed, Shiraj Gabriels, Harun Lordet, the Dindas, Khans, and all of us. So at that moment, to me, I came from a background where we lived in a community with non-racial sport. So at the Hassan Hour, they taught us one thing: you don't play normal sport in an abnormal society. So I had to play cricket with, we were happy to play with, because we didn't want to communicate with other people, because we knew we didn't feel comfortable. Where we played, we were fighting a cause. And that cause was one where we believed that, we had to give our best. So although I had a dream, but where I played, I was happy to be where I was, and I was appreciating that moment and giving my best at the time and the circumstance.
And then 1991 came, and unity happened in South Africa. Team, and you toured to Lords again. That experience, run me through it, please.
Sorry, I just lost you for a moment. You said unity happened and we went to Lords Cricket Ground. What do you say?
Yes, you were selected for the South African team that went over to go tour the UK, and then you had another encounter with Lords Cricket Ground, the home of cricket.
Yes, so when I left, I came back home and I said I'm coming back. And then they selected a non-white multiracial team at Unification. And I was one of the players with my cousin Hussein. We went down to England. And Eddie Bala was our coach in the team. There was Jimmy Cook, Clive Eckstein. Eddie Bala was our coach at the time. Roy Pina was there. And we had a whole range of cricketers, Richard Snell, where we played with and we trained with. And the last game was apparently at Lords. And myself and Hussein Hussein was one of the leading batters, and he was scoring lots of runs. And at that time, I think we played about 11 games. I was the leading wicket taker, and I took the most wickets for the England for the Transvaal team at the time. And we played at Lords, and as the morning the team was announced, they announced 11 players, 10 players was named, and then they said number 11, Jack. So I thought it was me because my name was Jack, and they said Stephen Jack, and I wasn't in the side. Naturally, I was sad. I was disappointed. I'd come all the way to Lords. I had a dream to play at Lords, and I walked around the ground, really, really sad all around. But somehow the game finished at 1 o'clock. We got bowled out for around a small number by the MCC cricket team, and there was another game. And fate had it that Allah subhanahu was so merciful. I got to play at Lords, and I think I remember the first ball I bowled. It was to Mark Gredbach. It was a full delivery. He hit me for 6 right into the Lords, into the glass pavilion, and the ball came out, and it was like, I thought, oh my God, what happened here? But lucky enough, I remember Rutherford was also playing in that game, and I bowled him out. So it was a wonderful experience just to be at Lord's, to play at Lord's, and the dream didn't end there. It was like the first dream was to play at Lord's. Alhamdulillah. It's like you never stop dreaming. So whoever you are, if you are listening out there, don't stop dreaming. Believe you can achieve anything, because a lot of us want to be Hashim Amla. We want to be Brian Lara. We want to be Richards. You want to be some of the great cricketers, but know in you there is a Brian Lara, there is a Hashim Amla, there is a Verv Richards. All you got to do is step into it, believe that you're capable, work hard, practice, and you know what? You can unlock and unleash that greatness within you. So all of us have the ability to do that.
On that name of legends, you forgot one legend that many other people recognize, and he goes by the name of Jack Manack. Just for as a side note. Uncle Jack, 1991 came, unity happened. Tell me, were you welcomed into that environment, and was it easy fitting in with your counterparts and who are now your teammates, and eventually they had to play in the same team as you? Was it easy to gel? Was it an easy movement?
No, we came from a country where apartheid was where we never played with white people. I never knew what it's like to play with a white person. Shukr enough, I went to London and I met an English. I played at an English club in Yorkshire, and the warm welcome I received, I was overwhelmed. I couldn't believe when I played in England for a cricket club, how they treated me, how they looked at me, how they welcomed me. They respected me for who I was and what I was. And when I came into the team, and you're talking of 1991, we went into the team. I was already in London. I was playing in England, and I joined the team while they were there, and we connected with the team. The circumstance in South Africa, I gelled and we connected with the young players who were at Wits, and they were playing with them, the Richard Snells, and then we interacted and they welcomed us because we could connect at the same level. The older players, it was difficult to link up with them because, it just never felt comfortable. They had different values. They were different. You never felt comfortable. You wouldn't get a kind word or you wouldn't get encouraged by them. If you wanted something, you had to go out and communicate. But understand that it was a difficult situation. We just had transformation. And it was an adjusting period. It was embracing us. I can tell you honestly, the welcome I got when I got to England playing at an English club and the welcome I got at the Transvaal team was different in the capacity that, we came from a background where Hassan Hawa and the Hassan Hawa League wasn't recognized. They didn't recognize us as cricketers. They didn't know who we were or whether we existed at that time. So it was different. They were recognized, so we weren't recognized at that time. So it was difficult to just...
Sorry, Uncle Jack, continue. I think I just lost you for a second. Uncle Jack, the Black Lives Movement is currently a movement gaining momentum right across the world, and South African sport has been, they've obviously taken to it, and it has been a bit slow. Leaving a guy like Lungi Ngidi taking a stand before our National Association has taken a stand, and this has left him in some hot waters with a lot of players disagreeing with the statement that he's made. I mean, do you think this could somehow dampen his career going forward?
This is what the challenge is, and I always see this as a challenge. When players are playing at the highest level, and when they stand up and share a voice of honesty, of truth, look at a player like Michael Holding, who said nothing until the Black Lives Movement started. Take an example. If it wasn't for the incident in America where a policeman had harassed a black person, it wouldn't have stood up. People were scared. People were afraid because your position is at stake. So people don't stand up because if you are playing at the moment, and Lungi is one of those players, and there's so many other players now, when he stood up, and then there was the Simcox and Dipana had a go at him, uncalled for, unnecessary. And that maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because when they stood up, it gave an opportunity for others to stand up. My cousin Hussein was outspoken, Islam Kota, and a lot of players, Faik Davids, Ashwell Prince. There's a Makaya Intini, his story came out. Now, we wouldn't have heard this. At the time when players are playing, they are afraid to make a speak. They're afraid to speak their voice, because if they do stand up and they speak, they will definitely be discriminated. They will not be given the opportunity. They will be sidelined. Take an example of a youngster like Ahmad Umar, who stood up at the time of cricket, and he got sidelined because of attitude. And they say you have an attitude, you talk so much. Now, that is when players talk out, because they're speaking truth. And when you speak truth, you are challenging the system, and they don't like to be challenged. So I'm actually glad this come up. Now that the trees has been rocked, the fruits are falling now. Now when the fruits fall, people need to stand up and pick up these ripe fruits, and now stand up and say, let us go forward. Let us change the way things were. Let us give people a voice. It's not your color. It's not or who you are, where you come from. We all have the ability to succeed. If you look at sportsmen all around the world, if you take in America, for example, if you take tennis, the Williams sisters, you take golf, it's Tiger Woods. If you take basketball, it's American. If you take sports in all around the world, it's the Asian continent. If you look at the Indian cricketers, the Pakistan cricketers, Sri Lankan cricketers, Bangladesh cricketers standing out. Look at South Africa. Players that have come up have broken records. Hashim, the records that he has all around the world, he's broken. They question his technique. They question who he was, what he was. But, he persisted. He believed in what he was. And we have the ability to make a mark in this world, not just as sportsmen, as human beings, as physicians, in all aspects of life. So it needs that people need to recognize this ability and not be afraid anymore. And their voice should be heard. And I'm glad this movement has started, and it's going to cause a ripple effect. And I welcome it.
And in saying that, do you think a stand should have been taken earlier with regards to this matter in South African sport as a whole, or do you think it was more a matter of our people just being honored to represent a jersey that our forefathers could never put on?
No. It has been taken part before. We have stood up. Why was there a stance of having a certain number of players to play in the side? Why was this brought about? It was only brought about because we were not given the opportunity. Players were not given the chance to play, so they had to create a quota system. They had to create this to make us be part of the system. And if it wasn't because of that, we wouldn't have been anyway. So the voice was there. It was a lone voice. It wasn't a voice that people listened to, and they didn't fulfill. If it wasn't for that, players wouldn't, the Intinius wouldn't have come up, the Hashims wouldn't have come up, the Paul Adams, and there's so many others. The Basil de Oliveira's who had to leave the country. There's the Morris Gardas. There is numerous. The Islam Code is a commentator, came up and stood out and made his mark worldwide, a recognized commentator. So the Dr. Musaji as a manager of the cricket team, who was successful, and now so the Ghulam Rajas, there's so many of us and so many others who, given the opportunity, who can make a difference, can make an impact, and we can add value. It is understanding that we all are, and we come from we have the same ability, but we shouldn't be judged on color.
Definitely, Uncle Jack. We need to have a part 2 on this conversation. We can go on for days. The knowledge and the experience that you share, it's amazing. I can sit with you around the table and have these conversations forever. But in wrapping, many players have taken on to the administration side or the coaching side of cricket once they've left the game. You were ever taken on more to the mental rather than the physical? What are you getting up to these days, and are you still involved in cricket?
Yes, I am still involved in the sport. To me, the journey started when how it started, this coaching aspect, and the mental side started was, I was in England, and a young boy came to me and he said, Sir, can you help me? Can you help me, please, sir? And I said, no, man. You know what? I've come here all the way from South Africa. I wanna improve my game, so I haven't got time. I just need to focus on myself. So I was just worried about myself. It was self-recognition. I wanted to succeed, so I focused on my game. And he kept coming to me until one day, I just got fed up and I says, okay, let me show you what to do. You want to bowl, put your head straight, do this, do that. And suddenly he bowled and I says, and keep bowling on the stump and hit the stump and hit the small piece of paper. And he came to me and he says, a few days later, he said, sir, come have a look. And I looked and he bowled the first ball off the mark. And I says, you know what? You're wasting your time. You told me to come have a look at you. You know what? I've got other things to do. And I left him alone. 3 weeks later, he came to me with a newspaper cutting. And he showed me, he said, sir. I says, you know what? I haven't got time. And I saw this cutting, and the cutting was him. And he got 6 wickets. And he said, sir, thank you. That day was a turning point for me. I realized it wasn't about me. I realized about serving. It's about making a difference to others, because when you can help others, it's more gratifying than taking a wicket. It's more gratifying than succeeding. And at that moment, I decided to turn things around. I decided to become, no more be a taker, start giving and helping people. And I started the journey of looking at improving and learning the skills of the mindset. And then from there, moving to handling pressure, handling fear, and learning all these aspects to what I've learned in life, and then imparting to other people. So I'm very involved in mental coaching, in training people to lead a positive mindset. It's like COVID. They are facing a challenge, and people are fearful. It's like accepting the reality of the truth. This is what's happening. How can we embrace this? How can we be positive under the circumstances? And we have, how can we be proactive? How can we be productive? And if we are, we will prosper. And if we prosper, we can suddenly fulfill our purpose in life. And that is what life is about, is having a positive mindset in everything. Like you interact with me, you engage with me, we can create a positive impact. The message I can give is either a negative one and be angry on what has happened in the past, or saying, you know what, this is where it is, let us go forward. Let us let the past go, and let us take this, let us now pick up the fruits. We've rattled the tree, Black Lives Matter, let us all pick up the fruits and let us bear the harvest and enjoy it. And let us make a difference into this world. Let us impact things positively, and we can. It's the choice each of us make. So what choice are you going to make if you are watching out there? What stance are you going to make? What stance are you going to make in your life? And if you make the right choice, you can prosper and you can progress.
Definitely. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. Definitely inspired me and many around the country and across the globe for those tuned in via Facebook. Uncle Jack, before we let you go, where can we get hold of you for bookings and obviously other availabilities?
I'm on Instagram. I was on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I will get back on Facebook soon, or hopefully on the 1st of September, I'll reconnect my page again. I'm rebranding myself, but they can reach me on Instagram, or they can contact me. If anyone want any help or feeling down or out, if you're out there and you're challenged in life, you know what? I'm willing to assist you. And you can contact me on my cell number 082-851-0243.
Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Jack, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And inshallah, I hope that we can have this conversation soon in the future again. Have a good evening. Thank you so much for your time.
Zakir, thank you. You've been an awesome host. Continue the good work. Continue unlocking this, creating awareness. Because if it isn't for awareness with you creating in your sports program, other people won't be aware. So continue doing what you're doing, because the awareness is what creates a change in people, and that awareness is needed. So thank you for giving us the platform. Thank you to Salam Media for always sharing and creating a beautiful, positive impact for us.
Well, Uncle Jack, before I let you go, Esti, the actual host of the show, gives his salams, and yeah, he says it was awesome catching up with you at Solly's Corner. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the Sports Talk with myself, Zakir Daud, this Friday evening. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you managed to learn and get some insight on what sport was like pre-unity, pre-1991 that is, and the whole point of it is to educate everybody, and so that we have the mindset where we know where the past meets the present, so that we're not judgmental going into any situation, so that we have a history and that we know where we're coming from and where we're going with South African sport, because our country does have a bright future in sport. I mean, we've recently won the Rugby World Cup, Siya Kolisi being the first black captain to do so, and it just shows we're moving in leaps and bounds, and progress is being made, and we will continue to make this progress until one day we have a united nation on all platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's it from me this Friday evening. I hope you have a good time. Stay tuned to the show because ST will be coming with the heat after this break. Shukran so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Friday Night Sport with Zakir Daud.
Oh, it's the cup. What a catch.
Hey, Brian,